want to tell you about a Tuesday afternoon in October, 3 years after everything fell apart, when I walked into a room and the first person I saw was her. She was standing near the window, holding a glass of sparkling water, laughing at something someone had said. She looked exactly the same. Same highlighted hair, same practiced laugh, same way of taking up space like she was entitled to every inch of it. And I stood there, in a blazer I bought with my first major client bonus, carrying a business card with a title I had earned, in a room full of people who knew my name, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not triumph, not the burning electric satisfaction I had imagined in all those quiet nights when I was building myself back up from the ground. Just peace. She saw me, and I watched it happen in slow motion, the flicker of recognition, the recalibration, the way her eyes traveled from my face down to the lanyard around my neck that said keynote speaker, and then back up again. Her smile didn't drop, but it changed. It became smaller, more careful. She came over. Of course she did. "Oh my gosh, look at you," she said, and there was something in her voice that was trying very hard to sound like pride, but landed somewhere closer to shock. And I smiled, genuinely, warmly, with absolutely nothing to prove. "It's good to see you," I said, and I meant it. Because here's what I want you to understand before we go anywhere else in this story. I didn't win by making her lose. I won by becoming someone she never could have predicted. Someone I never could have predicted. And every single thing she said to me, every dismissal, every quiet cruelty disguised as a joke, it became fuel. Not for revenge, for becoming. I didn't scream. I didn't fight back. I just became someone they never expected. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly how. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I'm genuinely glad you're here either way. Before we start, I just want to say, this story isn't about revenge. It's about becoming. It's about what happens when the worst thing someone says to you turns out to be the most useful thing anyone ever gave you. It's about the long, quiet, unglamorous, beautiful work of deciding deliberately, stubbornly, that you are worth the effort. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, spoken over, or made to feel small by someone who should have known better, this one is for you. If this kind of story means something to you, consider subscribing. I share long-form videos about real growth, the kind that doesn't happen overnight and doesn't look like a montage. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Now, let's go back to the beginning. I have always been quiet. Not shy, exactly, though people have called me that my whole life, usually in a tone that made it clear they meant it as a flaw. More like interior. I process things slowly and deeply. I have always been someone who listens more than I speak, who watches more than I perform, who thinks 10 things before I say one. Growing up, teachers wrote things like, "participates when called upon," on my report cards, which is a polite way of saying she doesn't volunteer, she doesn't raise her hand, she doesn't push herself forward. And for a long time, for most of my childhood and all of my adolescence, and honestly the first several years of my adult life, I accepted that as a character flaw, something to apologize for, something to work around. I became an expert at making myself smaller in rooms, at shrinking, at offering my thoughts only when someone specifically asked, and even then, softening them, qualifying them, wrapping them in so many disclaimers that by the time the actual idea arrived, it was barely visible. I'm sure some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I graduated from college with a degree in communications, which I picked partly because I thought it might help me get better at the one thing I felt worst at, saying things out loud in ways people actually heard. I got a job at a mid-size marketing agency in my city. Nothing glamorous, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of client calls I had to psych myself up for in the bathroom beforehand, but I was good at my job, genuinely good. Not the loudest person in the room, not the one cracking jokes in brainstorms or presenting with the kind of theatrical confidence that gets people promoted fast, but good, thorough, creative in quiet ways. The kind of person who would stay an extra hour not because anyone asked, but because I saw a way to make the campaign better, and I wanted to see it through. I thought that was enough. I genuinely believed that if you did good work, the work would speak. I was about to learn very painfully that it doesn't. Not on its own, not in an environment where the loudest voice gets the credit and the quiet hands go unseen. Her name was Danielle. She joined the agency about 8 months after I did, and she was, I want to be honest here because honesty matters, she was brilliant in the ways the office rewarded. Funny and fast and socially fluent in a way I had always envied. She could walk into a room of strangers and within 10 minutes have everyone laughing. She remembered names, she followed up, she had the kind of electric, present energy that made clients feel seen. We were on the same team, and for the first few months, I genuinely liked her. I thought maybe she was someone I could learn from. Someone who could show me how to take up more space without feeling like a fraud. We became something like friends, the kind of work friends who get coffee together and complain about the same clients and share memes in the team chat. I trusted her, maybe more than I should have. There was a campaign, a big one, a retail rebrand that had been bouncing around the agency for weeks. The creative brief was a mess, the client didn't know what they wanted, 3 different teams had taken a swing at it, and everyone had come back empty-handed. I worked on it at home, for weeks, not because anyone asked me to. I wasn't even officially assigned to it. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I sketched out a positioning strategy, wrote a full brand narrative, built a tone of voice guide from scratch. I brought it to my manager, quietly, in an email, the way I did everything, tucked into a corner, not making a fuss. She forwarded it to the team, which I was glad about. I wanted it used. What happened next? I didn't see coming. There was a campaign, a big one, a retail rebrand that had been bouncing around the agency for weeks. The creative brief was a mess, the client didn't know what they wanted, 3 different teams had taken a swing at it, and everyone had come back empty-handed. I worked on it at home, for weeks, not because anyone asked me to. I wasn't even officially assigned to it. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I sketched out a positioning strategy, wrote a full brand narrative, built a tone of voice guide from scratch. I brought it to our manager, quietly, in an email, the way I did everything, tucked into a corner, not making a fuss. She forwarded it to the team, which I was glad about. I wanted it used. What happened next? I didn't see coming. In the next team meeting, Danielle presented the campaign, my campaign. Not plagiarized word for word, she was too smart for that, but the bones were mine, the positioning angle was mine, the brand voice framework, the narrative arc, the central metaphor, all mine. Dressed up in her slides, delivered in her confident voice, with her name at the top. I sat there and felt something I'd never felt before in my professional life. A strange, dissociating sensation, like watching a movie of your own life from the wrong seat in the theater. People loved it. Our manager loved it. The client loved it. Danielle got the lead on the campaign. She got the credit. And I sat there, in my usual quiet corner of the conference table, and said nothing. Because that's what quiet people do, right? We say nothing. We let it pass, we tell ourselves it doesn't matter, that our time will come, that good work gets recognized eventually. But then, and this is the part I've never been able to unhear, As people were filing out of the meeting room, I overheard her talking to a colleague. She didn't know I was still there, or maybe she didn't care. "I don't know why they even keep her around," Danielle said, and I knew immediately she meant me, the way you always know. "She's been here almost a year and she barely says a word in meetings. You have to wonder if there's actually anything going on up there." Her colleague laughed, a little nervous, a little uncertain, the laugh of someone who knows they're participating in something unkind but doesn't know how to stop. "She's just too quiet to be noticed," Danielle said. "Some people are just like that." Too quiet to be noticed. I stayed in that conference room for a long time after they left. I just sat there. I looked at the whiteboard where her slides had been displayed, where my ideas had been displayed in her name, to her applause, and I cried. Not dramatically, just quietly, the way I did everything. A few tears, a lot of stillness, a long, slow processing of something that felt like grief and rage and shame all tangled together. Too quiet to be noticed. I had spent my whole life trying to believe that quiet wasn't a weakness, that thoughtfulness had value, that doing good work in good faith was enough. And in that conference room, with her voice still echoing, I came dangerously close to believing she was right. That was the lowest point, not because of what she did, though what she did was genuinely wrong, but because of how close I came to agreeing with her. I went home that night and I sat at my kitchen table and I thought, what if she's right? What if I'm just a person who doesn't matter, who passes through without leaving a mark? What if quiet isn't a superpower? What if it's just a problem I've been refusing to solve? I almost let those thoughts win. Almost. Here's the thing about hitting bottom. Sometimes the ground is actually firm. You fall, you land, and you realize the floor held. You're still here, still breathing, still thinking. And in that particular kind of silence, if you're honest enough with yourself, you can hear something underneath all the noise of humiliation and hurt. A question. What now? Not, how do I get back at her? Not, how do I make people see what she did? Just, what now? I didn't make a dramatic decision that night. I want to be honest about that, because I think we do people a disservice when we tell transformation stories like there's one eureka moment where everything shifts. There wasn't. There was just a very small, very private decision that I made at my kitchen table over a cup of tea that had gone cold. I decided I was tired of being the kind of person who did good work that got attributed to someone else. Not because of Danielle, but because of me. Because something in me, some quiet, stubborn thing, was offended at the waste. All that thought, all that care, all that late-night effort, and no one even knew it was mine. I didn't decide to become louder. I didn't decide to fight. I decided, very calmly and very deliberately, to become undeniable. Those are different things. I want you to notice that they are different things. The first thing I did, the very first concrete step, was terrifying in its simplicity. I started documenting everything. Every idea I had, I wrote it down with a timestamp. Every email I sent with a creative concept, I started saving to a personal archive. Every strategy document, every framework, every piece of thinking, my name on it, dated, saved. Not as evidence, not as ammunition, just as a record. As proof to myself that the thoughts existed, that they were real, that they had value even if no one was crediting them. It sounds small. It changed something enormous in me. Because here's what documenting your own work does. It forces you to see the value in it. When you write it down, when you treat it as worth keeping, something in your brain starts to believe that it's worth showing. The second thing I did was harder. I started talking to someone. Not a therapist, though I want to be clear, Therapy is one of the best things I have ever done for myself, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. I started talking to someone I trusted, outside of work, about what was happening. My college roommate, Priya. She's the kind of person who listens without trying to fix everything, which is the rarest and most valuable quality in a human being. I told her everything. The campaign, the conference room, the overheard words, and I waited for her to tell me I should confront Danielle or report it to HR or do any of the things the internet tells you to do when someone wrongs you at work. Instead, she said, "What do you want your career to look like in 5 years?" I didn't have an answer, and that was the point. She made me see that I had been so focused on the wound that I hadn't looked up at the horizon. I was so busy being hurt that I hadn't asked myself what I actually wanted, what I was building toward, what I was for. So, I did something I had never done before in my life. I made a 5-year plan. On paper, with actual goals, not vague aspirations, but specific, measurable, somewhat terrifying goals. Year 1, build a portfolio of work that was unambiguously, publicly mine. Start a professional blog, pitch 1 article to a marketing industry publication, develop a signature framework I could put my name on. Year 2, present publicly. Even if it was a small panel, even if it was a local industry event, get in front of a room and practice the thing I feared most. Year 3, explore going independent. Freelance clients, my own brand. No more conference rooms where other people put their name on my ideas. Year 4 and 5, I left deliberately vague because I'd learned from Priya that plans need both structure and room to breathe. I'd put that plan on a piece of paper and stuck it inside the cover of my journal. I looked at it every single morning for the next several months. Now, I want to talk about the gap period because this is the part nobody shows you in the highlight reel. This is the part between the decision and the visible results. And it is, I will not sugarcoat this, often miserable. I was still going to work every day at the same agency, on the same team, with Danielle. I was still watching her get credit for the kind of thinking I knew I was capable of. I was still sitting in meetings where I didn't speak up enough because my habits were old and deep, and habits don't change the day you decide they should. There were weeks, several of them, consecutive, where I questioned every single thing, where I wondered if I was deluding myself, where the 5-year plan felt like a children's drawing I'd made in a moment of naive optimism. And here's what I learned about those weeks. You have to let them happen. You cannot shortcut the doubt. You cannot rush through the discomfort. You can only, and this took me a long time to accept, put your head down and keep going anyway. Keep going anyway. Those 3 words became something like a mantra. I started writing. That sounds simple. It was not simple. I had never written publicly before. My blog started with 0 readers, literally 0. I published my first post, a breakdown of a campaign I found fascinating, and it got 11 views in the first week. 8 of those were probably me refreshing obsessively. I kept writing. Every week, 1 post. Some weeks, that was the only creative thing I managed to do. Some weeks, I wrote at 11 p.m. half asleep because I had told myself I would, and I didn't want to be someone who told themselves things and then didn't. At the 3-month mark, I had 200 followers. At 6 months, just over 1,000. Not viral numbers, not overnight success numbers, but real people. Real industry people who were reading and sharing and occasionally emailing me to say that something I wrote had helped them think through a problem. That feedback loop, small, slow, real, was the thing that kept me going. Not the numbers. The reality that my thinking, my specific way of seeing things, was useful to someone. Around month 4 of this new chapter, I finally did something I'd been telling myself I should do for 2 years. I started seeing a therapist. I want to talk about this openly because I think we still don't talk about it enough in self-improvement spaces. The inner work that has to happen alongside the outer work. Because all the productivity habits and 5-year plans in the world cannot replace going back and actually looking at the thing underneath. And the thing underneath for me was this. I had internalized, somewhere deep in my formation, the belief that my quietness made me less valuable. Not less effective, not less smart, less valuable. As a person, as if the metric for human worth was volume and velocity and how quickly you could fill a silence. My therapist, a small, sharp woman named Dr. Okafor, who had approximately 0 patience for self-pity and infinite patience for actual truth-seeking, she helped me trace that belief back. To the teachers who called on the loud kids, to the family dinner table where the big personalities dominated, and I learned to wait for a pause that never came. To every group project where I did the work and the extrovert presented it, and everyone assumed the presenter had done the work. I'm not telling you any of this to excuse the quietness or to pathologize it. I'm telling you because understanding where something comes from is the first step to deciding whether you want to keep carrying it. I decided I didn't. Month 5. I pitched an article to a marketing industry newsletter with about 50,000 subscribers. I wrote and rewrote the pitch email 14 times. I sent it on a Wednesday morning and then closed my laptop and took a long walk because I couldn't stand to watch my inbox. They accepted it. And then they emailed me 2 weeks later to say it was one of their most shared pieces that month. I read that email sitting in a coffee shop, and I started crying again, but different tears this time. Not the quiet grief of the conference room, something else. Something that felt like the very beginning of arriving somewhere. I want to tell you about the habits I built during this time, because I think habits are where transformation actually lives, not in the breakthrough moments, in the daily, unremarkable accumulation of small disciplines. I started waking up 45 minutes earlier than I needed to. Not to be productive, not at first, just to have time that was entirely mine before the world made its demands. I drank coffee in silence. I read something that had nothing to do with work or growth or self-improvement. A novel, a history book, poetry. This sounds indulgent. It was necessary. It was the thing that kept me human through a period when I could have easily reduced myself to a productivity machine. I started exercising regularly for the first time since college. 3 mornings a week, running, badly, slowly, then not badly at all. By month 8, I ran my first 5K. I tell you this not because physical fitness is some prerequisite for self-improvement, but because what running gave me was a relationship with discomfort. I learned 1 mile at a time that uncomfortable doesn't mean stopping, that the burn in your legs is not an emergency, that you can feel terrible and still keep going, and eventually you feel better again. That lesson, learned in my shoes, on the pavement at 6 a.m., transferred more than almost anything else. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, I stopped thinking about Danielle. Not immediately, not cleanly, but gradually. The way winter ends, not one big thaw, but small degrees of warmth, day by day, until you look up and realize you haven't thought about the cold in weeks. I stopped waking up with her voice in my head. I stopped replaying the conference room, not because I had forgiven her in any formal sense. I hadn't worked out what forgiveness meant to me yet, but because I had given myself something more interesting to think about. My own progress, my own work, my own becoming. And that is when everything started to change. Let me tell you about the first time I truly felt it, the shift. Not the visible results, those came later, and I'll tell you about those too, but the interior shift, the moment when something in me settled into a different shape, and I understood it was permanent. It was a Tuesday morning, 11 months into the plan. I was in a team meeting at Eat Agency, the same conference table, the same room where it had all started. Someone presented an idea that I could see immediately had a structural problem, a positioning gap that would undermine the whole campaign. In the old version of myself, I would have sat on that observation, turned it over privately, maybe emailed it to someone later, softened and qualified, maybe said nothing at all. Instead, and I remember this so clearly, the exact physical sensation of it, I raised my hand and I said, "Can I jump in for a second? I think there's a positioning gap we need to talk about." And I talked about it. Clearly, directly, not performing confidence I didn't feel, but acting from competence I had. The article, the blog, the 11 months of doing the work and documenting the thinking, and building the body of knowledge. The room listened. Not because I had suddenly become a different person, not because I had transformed into someone loud and electric and socially fluent, but because I had something real to say, and I said it without apology. And that combination, substance plus a lack of apology, turned out to be more powerful than volume had ever been. My manager asked me to pull together my analysis by Thursday. I had never been asked to pull together anything by Thursday in my life. The visible changes happened more slowly than the inner ones, and that's important to understand. The outer world always lags the inner world. You do the work inside first, the therapy, the habits, the slow accumulation of skills and self-knowledge, and then, later, the outer world catches up. By month 14, my blog had 8,000 followers. I was being asked to contribute to industry newsletters on a semi-regular basis. I had 2 freelance clients on the side, small but real. Real money, real relationships, real work that was unambiguously, publicly mine. By month 18, I had spoken at a panel event. Small, maybe 80 people in the audience. I prepared for 6 weeks. I rehearsed so many times that my roommate could recite my section from memory. And when I stood up there and spoke, not perfectly, not without nervousness, but clearly with things worth saying, I felt something click into place that I hadn't known was loose. Here is what I want to tell you about the people who doubted me as this was happening. Some of them didn't notice, and that was fine. Not every doubter gets a dramatic reversal scene. Some of them just quietly become irrelevant as you move forward, and that's its own kind of resolution. Some of them noticed in small, sideways ways. A colleague who had always talked over me in meetings started listening when I spoke. Not immediately. This happened over months, as I consistently showed up with well-considered thoughts and the quiet confidence to voice them. It wasn't a single moment. It was an accumulation. And some of them, a few of them, said things directly. "I didn't know you had that in you," which is a compliment and an insult at the same time, and I learned to receive it gracefully, with a smile, and then go home and write in my journal about how I always had it in me, and the only thing that changed was that I stopped hiding it. Danielle noticed. I want to be honest about the timeline here, because stories like this often compress the moment of recognition into something dramatic and immediate, and that's not how it happened. For most of the first year and a half of my transformation, Danielle and I existed in the same office in a kind of careful parallel. We were polite to each other, professionally cordial. I didn't avoid her, I didn't seek her out, I just moved forward and let her remain in the peripheral vision of my life rather than the center. I noticed when she started reading my blog posts. The analytics told me she'd visited several times. I noticed when she started following my professional accounts. I didn't feel triumphant about this, I felt something more like quiet acknowledgement. Okay, she sees. At the 20-month mark, I gave my notice at the agency. I had 3 freelance clients, a publishing deal for a series of marketing strategy guides, and a speaking invitation to a conference with several hundred attendees. It wasn't financial security, not yet. It was something better. It was a clear enough path that I trusted myself to walk it. My manager, a genuinely good person who I think had always seen more in me than I showed her, said, "I'm not surprised. I just wish we'd found a way to make more room for you here." I thanked her and meant it. I didn't look at Danielle as I left. The first year of going independent was, and I'm not romanticizing this, extremely hard. I worked more hours than I ever had at the agency. I had income uncertainty that kept me awake sometimes. I had to learn how to sell myself, to advocate for my rates, to say out loud in conversations with strangers, "Here is what I do, and here is what it's worth." That last one, saying what I was worth, turned out to be the hardest and most important skill I have ever developed. Because here's what nobody tells you about transformation. The external world will keep treating you the way you present yourself to it. If you present yourself with apology, with hedge, with preemptive smallness, people will believe you. If you present yourself as someone whose work has value, whose thinking has value, who has invested years in building genuine expertise, people will believe that too. The work is learning to present the true version. By year 2 of independence, 6 ongoing clients, a recurring consulting arrangement with a brand I had genuinely admired for years, and a newsletter that had grown to 22,000 subscribers through nothing except consistent value and word of mouth. Not a household name, not viral, not featured on anything, just real, growing, mine. And the detachment. I want to talk about this because I think it's the most underrated part of real transformation. Somewhere between month 20 and month 30, I stopped monitoring what other people thought of me with anything like the urgency I used to. Not because I became arrogant, I hope I didn't, but because I had developed what I can only describe as an internal authority, a set of standards and values and a body of work that I could hold up against myself and feel settled. I stopped needing external validation to know I was on the right track. Not completely, I'm human. I care what people think. But the craving for it, the desperate, anxious need to be seen by people who had dismissed me, just faded. It faded because I was too busy doing real things to spend energy on the theater of being perceived. And that internal authority, that quiet self-knowledge, that settled sense of who I was and what I had built, was the truest transformation. Everything else was evidence. The transformation was this. I had become someone who knew her own worth. And here's the thing about people who know their own worth. They don't need to shout. They don't need to fight. They don't need to prove. They just need to show up, do the work, and let it speak. Which brings me to October. Which brings me back to that room. Which brings me back to her. And that is when everything started to change. Act 4, the encounter. The conference was called the Brand Strategy Summit, and it was the largest industry event I had ever been invited to, not as an attendee, as a keynote speaker, one of 3 for a morning session that opened the second day of the conference. I found out about it in an email from the event organizer in April, 7 months before October. I said yes immediately, and then hung up the phone and walked around my apartment in small circles for approximately 10 minutes. I prepared the way I prepare for everything now. Thoroughly, patiently, without drama. I spent 3 months developing the talk. I had it reviewed by 3 people whose judgment I trusted. I rehearsed it 47 times. I counted because I'm the kind of person who counts things. I knew it cold. I knew its silences and its pacing and exactly where the audience would laugh and exactly where they'd go quiet. By October, I was ready. Not fearless, I want to be clear about this. Ready is not fearless. Ready is being afraid and trusting your preparation more than your fear. I arrived at the venue the morning of my talk to check the setup. The room held 400 people. I stood at the front of it while it was still empty, with the lights low and the chairs arranged in their rows, and I let myself feel the full weight of the moment. 3 years and 2 months ago, I was sitting alone in a conference room crying quietly over words someone said about me when they thought I couldn't hear. Now, I was standing in a room designed to hold my voice. That's when I saw her. She was there as an attendee. I found out later she'd left the agency the year before and was now at a smaller company in a client services role. She was standing with a small group near the registration table, and when I walked in, she was mid-story about something, and then she looked up. I want to describe what happened in her face because I think it's important to be precise. I've thought about it a lot. It wasn't shame, or not only shame, it was a more complex thing. Recognition, recalibration, the very rapid mental process of updating information that was no longer accurate. She excused herself from her group and came toward me. I want to be honest, I felt something. Not the angry, electric thing I might have expected. Something quieter. A kind of protective warmth toward my former self, toward that girl in the conference room, because she deserved someone to show up for her then, and she didn't have anyone. And now I was here, and she was fine. Better than fine. "Oh my gosh," Danielle said. "Look at you!" That phrase, "look at you," like I had performed a trick, like I had done something surprising by continuing to exist and grow, like growth required permission she might have withheld if asked. I smiled. "It's good to see you." She asked if I lived in the city now. I said yes. She asked if I was attending as a speaker. I said yes. She asked what I was speaking on, and when I told her, the talk was called Quiet Authority, How Introverted Leaders Build Lasting Influence, something moved across her face that I am still not entirely sure how to name. "Wow," she said. And then, "You've really come into your own." Come into your own, as if my own was somewhere I had to travel to, as if it wasn't always there, waiting, just quieter than people wanted to hear. I thanked her, and I meant it. Genuinely, because I've spent a lot of time thinking about whether I would be here without that conference room, without those overheard words, without the particular, specific pain of being underestimated by someone I had trusted. And the answer is, I don't know. Maybe I would have found my way here differently. Maybe I would have found a different version of here. But I did get here, and the pain was part of the path. Which doesn't make what she did right, but it makes it survivable, transformable, useful. She asked if I wanted to catch up over coffee. Her voice had that careful, slightly too casual quality of someone making an offer they're not entirely sure they mean. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I made a decision that I'm proud of, not because it was cold or clever, but because it was genuinely true. I smiled, and I walked toward the speaker's prep room. I don't know if she'll message me. I don't know if she won't. And here is the incredible, liberating truth of where I am now. I don't really mind either way. The talk went well, more than well. The 400 people in that room laughed where I wanted them to laugh and went quiet where I wanted them quiet. And at the end, there was a long, warm, standing ovation kind of moment that I did not let myself disappear inside of, the way I might have once. I stayed present for it. I let myself feel it. I didn't deflect or minimize. I stood there, and I received it. That's new. That's a change I'm proud of. Afterward, a young woman, maybe 24, 25, came up to me at the edge of the stage. She was wearing a lanyard that said, "First-time attendee." She had a careful, slightly held way of taking up space that I recognized immediately, from the inside. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course." "How do you get people to hear you when you're the kind of person who doesn't naturally take up a lot of space?" Pause. I thought about what to tell her. I thought about the conference room and the cold tea and the 11 months of early mornings and the 5K and the 14 email drafts and the 47 rehearsals and the October mornings standing alone in an empty room with 400 chairs. And I said, "You stop trying to take up space and you start filling the space you're in with things worth listening to. The rest takes care of itself. Eventually. It takes longer than you want it to, but it happens." She nodded. Something in her face settled, just slightly. "I'd like that. Send me a message when you're free." "It doesn't feel like it's going to happen," she said. "I know," I said. "Do the work anyway." Here's what I realized, driving home from that conference, watching the city pass outside the window. The encounter with Danielle, the one I had imagined so many times in so many different versions, sometimes triumphant, sometimes confrontational, sometimes tearful, turned out to be the least interesting thing that happened that day. The most interesting thing was the young woman with the careful posture and the honest question, because she reminded me of exactly who I was and who I am not anymore, and all the work that lives in the distance between those two versions. And I realized, finally, fully in my chest and not just my head, that this was never about Danielle. It was never about her watching me arrive. It was never about her seeing what I'd become. I spent a long time thinking the moment of vindication would feel like something, would feel like the closing of a wound, the clicking of a lock, the arrival at a destination. But the destination turned out to be the work, the ongoing, never finished, deeply satisfying work of becoming the fullest version of myself. Danielle is just a person in a room, a person who said something cruel once and whose cruelty I chose to use as fuel and who will continue living her life without particularly factoring into mine. And somehow that, the smallness of the ending, the ordinariness of the encounter, is the most freeing thing I've ever experienced, because it means the story was always mine. It was always about me, not her. I want to leave you with something honest, because I think you deserve honesty more than a tidy bow. The best revenge is living well. You've heard that. It's stitched on pillows, it's in Instagram captions, and it is completely, entirely true, with one condition, one caveat that I think makes all the difference. Only if you're doing it for yourself. If you're building something just to make someone eat their words, if the entire architecture of your growth is pointed outward toward an audience of one who wronged you, you will work yourself to the bone and arrive somewhere empty. Because when you finally get there, when you finally have the moment, when they finally see, it will not be enough. It cannot be enough, because it was never really yours. But when you build for yourself, when you do the work because you deserve the fullest version of your life, because your potential is real and worth investing in, because becoming is its own reward, you arrive somewhere that feels like home. And the vindication, if it comes, is just a footnote, a small and pleasant footnote to a much larger, more important story. Pause. So, here is what I want to leave you with. Practically. Because practical matters. 1. Document your own thinking. Your ideas are worth keeping. Treat them that way. Write them down, date them, keep them. Not for anyone else, for yourself, to build the evidence of your own mind. 2. Find one person who asks you better questions than you ask yourself. Not someone who tells you what to do, someone who asks you what you want. That question, what do you want, is the most transformative question I have ever been asked. 3. Do one scary thing a month in the direction of your real goals. Not a reckless thing, a specifically, deliberately scary thing. The pitch, the email, the first post, the panel application. Fear in the direction of your goals is a compass, not a stop sign. 4. Go to therapy if you haven't, or whatever equivalent practice helps you go inward. Journaling, meditation, a trusted, honest friend. The outer work without the inner work is just performance. It doesn't stick. It doesn't transform. Do both. 5. Decouple your worth from your noise. Quiet is not a flaw. Thoughtful is not a weakness. The world will try to reward speed and volume. Build something that rewards depth. Your people will find you. I am still becoming. I want to be clear about that. I am not at the end of the story. I don't think I ever will be. The 5-year plan has been revised twice. The goals have gotten bigger and stranger, and more specifically mine. There are new fears, new edges, new things I'm afraid to say out loud that I know I need to say. That's the thing about transformation. It doesn't conclude, it compounds. And that, I think, is the whole point. If you made it to the end of this video, genuinely, thank you. This one came from somewhere real. These words mattered to me. I hope some of them mattered to you. I have one question for you in the comments. What's your glow-up story? Not the finished version, maybe you're not there yet. The in-progress version, the chapter you're in the middle of. Tell me where you are. Tell me what you're building. Tell me what someone said that you decided to use as fuel instead of a finish line. I read every single comment. I mean that. And if you're new here, subscribe, hit the bell, come back next week, because I'm not done talking about this. And honestly, neither are you.